Evening, everyone. Welcome to Counterparts. I am John Henry Soto, and as always, I'm here with George Batista. Welcome to Counterparts, and we're very excited this evening because it is a film day, and we're going to be talking about filmmaking because I love it. And George, I'm sorry, sometimes I know I go a little bit, I get too involved with our film guests, but
No.
I appreciate your I appreciate your patience. But we have Matt Shewchuk is going to be on the show. He's an award-winning filmmaker, and we're very excited to have him on the show. So please come on back and hang out with us. We're going to talk some film. So I was telling Matt backstage that sometimes I feel like I'm asking questions for myself, and maybe nobody in the audience really is interested. So if that's the case, please let me know in the comments below if you think that I'm getting too selfish. But I haven't heard any complaints yet,
There's
so
nothing wrong with that, John.
I
Nothing.
don't think so. I think it's
Yeah.
fun. I think we're
Yeah.
having a good time. We're enjoying
Abs-
ourselves here,
That's
and
right.
yeah. Speaking of enjoying ourselves, we have some sponsors that we really enjoy, and we want to give them some love. So please, George, take it away.
Thank you very much, sir. So, the Counterpart Show is brought to you by Wellness Resources, a family owned and operated nutritional supplement company providing the highest quality clinically formulated supplements since 1985. Find out why Wellness Resources supplements are the top choice of health conscious individuals around the world. Make sure you check them out at myvitaminresource.com. And if you enter the promo code Counterparts, you will get free shipping on your order. And on top of that, they have their monthly specials, and their special for this month, which is only gonna expire in the next couple of days, is they have 25% off their daily supplements. So again, check them out at myvitaminresource.com. All right. Well, we are very excited today. We're going to be talking about film, and we have Mr. Matt Shewchuk with us. So let's talk a little bit about Matt. So Matt has over 10 years of experience in factual and scripted content as both a producer and director. A multiple award nominee, Matt has been a mainstay director on factual documentary series such as the hit Discovery Channel series Highway Through Hell and Heavy Rescue 401. He has also taken home Canadian Screen Award for Best Direction in a Documentary Series for his work on the final episode of Ice Pilots for the History Channel. On the scripted side, Matt has produced a number of projects from feature films to television series, including an original concept for Comedy Central. Matt continues to develop original IP while spearheading the scripted business development. And John, I'm sure this is going to be a fun conversation today. We're going to learn a lot from Matt. So without further ado, let's bring him on board. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Shewchuk. All right.
Oh, right on. All right. Thank you so much for being on, Matt. Appreciate it. Awesome. Awesome. So obviously we've talked a little bit already about what the show's going to be about. We love filmmaking. Documentary filmmaking is such an amazing tool, to tell stories, and not just that, but to really inspire people. I think documentaries are just incredible, especially in the recent, I don't know, 20 years. I think they've really have really gone into another level of quality, where the storytelling is where it's strong, but the stories themselves are actually also powerful. So I really love that. So thank you for being on. So the way we kind of do this is George is a little bit more of an official question guy. I kind of like
Organized.
to free flow a little bit, and kind of like, so I'm gonna turn. Yeah, he's organized. So I'm gonna turn it over to George, and he'll ask the first question, and then we'll just move on.
Yes, I'm not as suave as John,
You know?
but but yeah, again, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. And so I like to kind of take a deep dive into what was your thinking, way back when you first got into the industry, and kind of what motivated you and started you off on your journey. So tell us a little bit about the history of kind of film, and how you got into it. What were your inspirations and that type of thing?
Well, I'll start by saying the first thought was, what have I done? Because when you first get in, you don't really get paid a lot of money. And I came from a pretty good paying office job. And the what have I done question it came up 2 times. First when I first started and when I got my first documentary job. But yeah, no, basically I've always loved film and television. I come from a small town in rural English-speaking Quebec up in Canada. And growing up, we didn't have many channels. We had, I think, the local Vermont channel out of Burlington that was super fuzzy, and the local Canadian channels, a couple of them. But yeah, because there wasn't that much access to TV, my dad ended up bringing home a lot of movies from the video store. He worked in Montreal, very hard working elevator mechanic, and would drive into Montreal every day, an hour and a half to go to work each way. And then when he came back at night, his thing was to unwind and watch movies after dinner. So we got kind of roped into that. And because he rented so many movies at the local video store had a little side hustle where they would copy the new movies to make extra cash, and my dad would get those new movies. So we'd get these black VHS cases with not the labels. And anyways, we would get all the new movies first. So that was cool for us because we get to see all the new movies first that came out on VHS.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where it kind of stemmed. And my dad had this, very unique taste in like weird movies. Like I remember watching IFC and like The Blind Swordsman, Zatoichi when we first got satellite. Anyways, he would just all these weird independent movies and stuff. So that kind of like piqued my interest, but that kind of got tucked away. I went to play college hockey in the States. But the one thing that remained when I went to play hockey in university is on the road trips, they're like 7-8 hours. I was the one in charge of like renting, or I volunteered to rent all the movies for the trip from Blockbuster. So that's like my background. And my first production was in high school where we had the choice to do a report or do a video and a home movie based like as the report in our religion class. And anyways, I dressed up as Jesus and this whole thing. Anyways, so I had a very limited experience in that. I always loved TV shows and movies, but never really had access because I came from a small town and never even thought of going to film school. It was always like, okay, go to university at least, play hockey, get your finance degree or business degree, and start, go work at a bank. But I ended up finishing my college hockey career, moving back to Montreal, and through a friend ended up taking an acting class where I met a bunch of like-minded, actors and filmmakers. And I had a regular job at the time, and everyone in the class were like waiters and waitresses and bartenders. And they saw that I had a fancy company car that I was lucky to have at the time, and thought it was made of money, but I wasn't. I just had a nice car. Like, hey, do you want to make a short film with us?
Yeah, you're the producer.
Yeah, what am I going to do? Anyways, we ended up making a short film together, and it was a good experience. That really piqued my interest, and I was like, okay, I think I'd like to do this for real. But got to start at the bottom. So just fast forwarding to my first job that one of my friends from the short film got me was they needed a Canadian in LA to work as an assistant to the director on a documentary series. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of an easy foray into getting into the world. And for me, I just needed to have a little bit of a window or a crack in the door to get in, and I'd figure it out. I figured that was the plan. But the thing about this first documentary, it was a documentary about porn stars and porn directors and producers in LA.
Oh, wow.
So, it was a Canadian production, and we filmed there, and I was like, what have I done? My mom's friends would ask her, what's Matthew up to down there? She said, I don't know what he's on, working on some documentary. And then people would ask my dad, like friends from the elevator industry. Oh. The other, what's your son up to? Oh, he's in porn. that's how it all kind of started. And yeah.
But at least it's all up from there. I'm
Yes, I hear you on that one. So yeah, yes. So I got exposed to filmmaking and documentary, and along the way, it's a small team. There's like a director, a camera guy, and a sound guy, and then there's me, who's getting release forms from the performers before or after. So you have to pick your moment, what's best for either female or male performers.
Right.
To get the release forms. But everyone was really great. That was a really great experience. But what I learned is that directing in documentary, at least for me, like that didn't seem that hard. It's like, oh, all you got to do is ask questions and, have the cinematographer kind of point in the right direction. I mean, obviously it's more than that, but for me, it's like I broke it down. Like I could do this. So I'd start being really annoying with the director and asking questions and how can I do this? And with the producers, I was like, we're there for a year almost. And it's like, what can I do to help? Is there any way that I can direct? And yeah. So from there, I kind of,
at least they didn't ask you to act.
Well, you sure you want to help? Because
yeah.
So, but let's just clarify. It was a documentary about
right.
You were following.
Like that industry and that world. Yeah, that world.
Yes, and actually a very well respected show in Canada. It was called Web Dreams. It went 3 seasons. Yeah, really well done.
Yeah.
And it was produced by like Emmy award winning producer Mike Cronish out of Montreal. And yeah, it was the stories were extremely compelling, and that's really what was after. And that's the one thing that stood out too. It's that you're, no matter what kind of world you're in, all you're doing is trying to find the best stories and access. And we had the access and having the best, on-screen subjects, documentary subjects that are open.
Right.
I learned that like to really, that was a crash course in probably the most extreme kind of access to or attempts to get access with people, because it's the most private thing you can do. Yet these people are opening up their lives
to
talk to you. So it was really interesting to see that, and that really kind of set the foundation of how to also, not walk on eggshells, but really be delicate with people and making sure and the one thing that I learned quickly, and I really like people and I like learning about people, and I really feel it's a privilege to be on set no matter where it is, because it's like a backstage pass. I'm lucky and privileged to be able to see all these different worlds, right? So it was interesting to I got to see really how to behave on a documentary set, because you really got to be a certain
sure,
to be careful around
those
situations, right? So
I mean, it's definitely different because it's not it's real. I mean, we're dealing with real emotional situations
and people's lives
and they're actually opening up. And so as a director, you have to really be like you said, it's not really walking on eggshells, but it's just really compassionate. Very compassionate.
You got to be a human being, and you got to listen, and you got to listen,
absolutely.
and you got to listen, and then you can ask some questions once in a while.
Yeah, and I like what you said about the privilege of being there, because I think there's a lot in the industry that they lose sight of the fact that, man, this is like a privilege. If you have a camera and you have a compelling story, and you have people that are involved, and it's really something that a group is putting together, that's a real blessing to be part of.
Yeah.
And I think it gets lost sometimes with in the industry. You'll be on set somewhere and somebody, they'll be like, oh, how much more?
Oh yeah.
Right. And you'll get that everywhere, but just the fact that that you said that, it just shows a lot about what good of a director are you in documentary, because it shows that you care and you want to be there.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question about compelling stories. That's the game, right? We're trying. Everyone's trying. Even original narratives, documentaries, is finding a compelling story and then finding ways to tell it. When you hear someone is bringing you a documentary, you probably get that a lot. You get emails. Hey, I got an idea for a documentary. What are you looking for when you when you read that email or when you have that conversation with somebody?
For me, what we look for here is how new and unique is the world. So let's say, we do a lot of, blue collar factual stuff, but we have, a wide range of projects in development. But yeah, for us, it's how unique is that world, no matter if it's blue collar, no matter if it's a dating series or what have you. It's has it been done before? Is
Right.
it like, because if it's another gold mining show,
Right,
or another tow truck show, it's kind of like
yeah.
saturated right now, right? So it's like,
Right.
how new and fresh is that? But then also, aside from that, it's how great are the characters? And it's like the characters have to be great.
Right.
They could be doing the most interesting thing in the world, but if they're not compelling, they're not funny, it's going to be a struggle, and you're going to disappoint your broadcaster, your network. So yeah, that's how unique is the world, how interesting the world is, but then how great are the characters. Like we got very lucky with Mike and Avery from Rust Valley Restorers. It's like lightning in a bottle. They are, the biggest thing with that show is whenever fans come up to them and meet them for the first time, like, wow, you guys are exactly like you are on TV. And that for me is like the kind of like I'm the most proud of that, because we're not, yes, there's story editing and the show gets edited, but
yeah, to have that translate and to know that my instincts were correct, or our instincts, me and my old business partner, Tyson, is super rewarding, because it's, we followed our instinct on trying to find like the best characters possible, and then capitalized on it. Yeah, and that's the tricky part. George, I promise I'll let you ask a question.
Go right ahead.
But that's the tricky part, right? Because there are these, sometimes you can have a really interesting character off of, not on camera, and then you put them on camera, and then something happens where they freeze up, or they try now to be something.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to. They were already that thing. So that's another challenge, So when you get that, like you said, the lightning in a bottle, it's like it really is gold.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, George.
It's interesting you say that, because I always wondered when I watched some of those shows, like, is this person actually like that? You have this idea of like, are they really like just putting on this complete facade, or are they actually like that, or how is it a give and take? So that was one of the things I've always wondered about that. Now, when you're doing stuff like that, whether it's just a regular film or a documentary or whatever, how much input are you getting from the actors or the performers themselves versus what you're giving them?
I mean, on the Rust Valley Restorers show with Mike and Avery, they give us a lot of feedback.
Really? Okay.
Feedback. I should be dealing with the edit on this, and like, you guys don't know what you're doing. Just turn the camera on and follow me. Don't worry about it. Like,
that's funny.
We ask questions right throughout the day. It's like, who writes? Like, because we film, we shoot everything. We shoot like 1,000 hours, and that show takes a year. That show takes a year. When we did 12 episodes for 2 seasons, I think we shot 14, 15 months, because it's like a pure process of following the guys, restoring all these cars and these stories, and the cars take forever to restore. So it's like, and so we have to ask a lot of questions. And Mike is like, who writes these questions? They say it right into the cameras, and they're like, oh, it's Sam or it's Katie. It's like, and then but we have a really great relationship. The Office and Mike, they're just like, they're children in men's bodies.
Right.
And they love, their favorite thing is to like make people uncomfortable, or to make them like to joke with people. And
perfect for that world.
It works.
That's kind of the key thing, when you get someone that's just that comfortable with being uncomfortable with being in an uncomfortable situation, that they love that experience. Putting a camera, that's awesome. I wanted to go back a little bit on what you mentioned earlier about your like the transition, when you took an acting class and then you kind of were on a film set, when you were on that film set, was there something that interested you behind the camera immediately, or was it a gradual thing?
I mean, to be honest, I originally I was like, I wanted to be an actor. Like for like a few years, I wanted to be an actor. I was like, if I can't be a pro hockey player, I gotta be that was kind of my drive. And it's a bit superficial, but then you get into it, like I did with my hockey career. And, I played college hockey, I played Division I in the States, and that was great. But when that was over, it's like, I'm not going to, you come to realization and come to terms with what you can't be.
Yeah.
Like, what can I be next? And what's the next stage of my life? So it's like, taking the acting classes, I did some auditions. I did like a few parts in some French TV show, like very small parts as a hockey player on the ice with a few lines. And that was fine and all. But for me, it was, once I did that short film and as a producer that I got to do a bunch of roles, it was like, oh, I love this, like all the troubleshooting and all the chaos and trying to get stuff done and like the race against the clock. And I think that was a bit of like, relates a little bit to hockey and just like the competitive nature to it, but also like, just like
the rush,
trying to get the job done and the rush and adrenaline, right? Yeah. So from there I realized that maybe if I worked at it I could become an actor, but that really wasn't my thing. And being on set was like, wow, I could be a producer potentially, I could be a director, I could be anything from here. Really piqued my interest, but I found out pretty quick that you had to start at the bottom. So
right.
And I was a grinder in hockey, so I figured I can grind this out. So I started, as an assistant director, and in that first season on that documentary on Web Dreams, unfortunately, one of the other directors in one of the other cities, we were shooting in LA, Toronto, Chicago. One of the other directors fell ill, and one of the characters needed to go up to go do a shoot, and they're like, "Matt, you want to direct?" I'm like, yeah, of course. Because I had asked a few questions on set here and there. And I was like, yeah, no, I think I could handle it. Okay, well, you got to go direct and shoot. I'm like, well, I've never shot with a camera before. Wow. They sent me up to Chicago with a small camera to follow the character, but it really was because I had met the character before and she felt comfortable with me. So just like hanging out for the weekend, they didn't like expect anything from the weekend, the producers. So I went and I shot a horrible sequence of scenes that were not the proper color balance, underexposed, overexposed, not framed properly. I had to do audio. I was like fumbling around, but I got along well with the character and she said, "Oh, Matt did a great job."
That's the best way to learn, right? You get thrown right into it.
And I just was like a concierge to the city and making sure that she was comfortable and having a good time with her and her partner. And it was great. We got back and they're like, "This is what you did wrong with filming. This is what you did wrong with directing, but maybe we'll give you another chance." So they did later on in the year where I had a camera guy and a sound guy, and I just had to ask questions and direct. And that was like, boom, boom. It just felt like, because I absorbed everything. As soon as I knew I had the access and I was there, and wanted to be a director at that point. I just absorbed everything around me and every single bit of directing, and started to look at camera work and stuff. And later had another opportunity to start to be a shooter director. And that's a little bit of another story, but
we'll definitely touch on that too. Let's also clarify, like directors and cinematographers, because people say, well, you're a filmmaker. I'm like, yeah, I'm a filmmaker. So can you use these cameras, and here's this new camera that just came out, can you? And I'm like looking at it like, I don't even know where the on is.
Alien technology.
It's like, that's not really what I just did a music video over the weekend, and I had a cinematographer who was great. I was just like, I need this, I need that. He had a big monitor, he sets it up. And then I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's what I wanted. He did what I wanted, and it's like such a joy. But I think that the director, the industry, or not the industry, but I think fans of film don't understand sometimes the difference between, the roles and what it takes to make a film. Like a 5-minute sequence can be, it can be hours and hours and hours.
It's a day, if not two.
Yeah, easily,
Unscripted, unscripted for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. That's another issue. So can we talk a little bit about it's Rust Valley Restorers, right?
Yeah.
Season 5.
Yeah.
Right. Talk a little bit about that and how that experience is going, and how did that come about?
It's going great. Yeah, I mean, every year we kind of wait on ratings and sales and how the show's doing to see if it's going to get renewed. And we were lucky to get a season 5. Even after season 4 kind of felt like it might have been a bit like the end of the road for the show, because the show's about Mike Hall and his partner in crime, best friend Avery Schoaf, and Mike's collected over 500 cars in season 1 over the last 35 years. And they put them in this field, and every episode they restore a car from the field, or do a car for a client kind of thing. So at the end of season 4, which has been out now for a while, but a bit of a spoiler alert for anyone who might have not seen it, but Mike auctions off the rest of his cars, and we auctioned off 472 cars in a day, I think, or something like that. It's crazy, yeah. So like parts car. There were some anchor cars, some nice finished cars. So I thought that was maybe the end of the series.
Yeah.
But there's such an immense amount of stories in Rust Valley and in that part of the world. People wanting Mike to restore cars, and Mike, he's constantly buying cars and falling in love with cars. So there's so many different stories we can tell. So when the network asked if we could do another 8 episodes, I said, yeah, of course we can do as many episodes as you want, as many seasons as you want. So so we got into season 5, and I guess the idea there was, how are we going to make this season different? And there's a bit of like kind of planning out like what cars he's going to do, and like talking to clients to see which cars we'll have on the show and stuff like that. This year we kind of like just followed what Mike was going to do in general. We didn't have we'd always do like a demolition derby or like a roundy round hit to pass, as they call it, kind of race. But this year it felt really, really, really organic, and followed like Mike's journey and Avery's journey, because Mike ended up buying 100 more cars over the winter with his money. And then Avery had problems with the local district because he had too many cars in his yard, which is a bit more residential. So he had to do it. So anyways, there's
a lot of stories.
And so, it was an easy yes for us to be like, can you do it? No, yeah, of course. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's an emotional season, bunch of tears, bunch of laughs, and a lot of rust being turned into fully restored cars. So yeah, no, we're pretty proud about this season.
That must be really cool though, to be on the front line, seeing the car and thinking that ain't never gonna look good, and then seeing
there's some pretty impressive transformations this year. I think one truck had over 1,000 hours into it. At least.
Wow.
At least. Oh, it's insane. Yeah, there's some pretty cool builds. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an incredible world, like cars. Like I'm from New York, so I had a Metro card, and I took the subway for a minute. Started driving. When Nashville, you have to drive here, but but there's this other world. I would go to car shows, and that's another world that you just cannot. If you're not in it, you're not in it.
Right.
But there's always a car that you can potentially relate to, being it a Lamborghini you saw on a poster, or there's always a car that someone's like, they have their favorite kind of car.
Yeah,
so
like a Knight Rider.
There you go.
If Knight Rider comes down, I'm gonna scream like a girl. I'm gonna be like, oh my god!
Yeah, exactly. So it's really interesting to see, like in the summer now, there's over probably 50 to 100 fans that stop in at the shop, and it's like
wow,
off the Trans-Canada Highway, and not a very populous town, but it is well traveled, and people from all over Canada. We've had people from all over the world stop in, and everyone has a story about a car, and it's really wonderful. hear their stories, and even though I do put up barricades to say the shop's closed, and everyone gives me shit about it. But because if everyone's coming in so we had to establish rules where it's at lunchtime and after 4:30, because
you got to shoot.
We're shooting the documentary, but also like if Mike and the guys keep coming out and giving tour, like everything, like the car's progress will not happen, right?
Right. You're looking at like another year and a half for like 10 episodes.
Yeah, so there's sometimes a love-hate relationship between them and me when I'm like, I come in and lay down the law with the barricades and like trying to, we got to keep things going here, guys, because the first season I directed and produced and blah blah blah, and now I'm strictly executive producing it. So yeah.
Well, it's also the job of an executive producer, but also as a director to keep the show going, because it's very easy for like a quick little 5-minute conversation to turn into 15 minutes, and people don't realize that 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, you've lost hours and hours. So sometimes you got to be a little bit, and being tactful is a key thing. But sometimes you got to be, okay, guys, see that sun? If that sun gets over here, we are done.
Yeah.
So we have to get these shot. This is how much we have left. And if we don't get that done, so you have to be that. Do you, you said they give you shit sometimes for that. Is that something that not in this project, but just in other projects that are you like the guy that kind of keeps the ball rolling, and you're like, okay, guys, we got to get this.
Yeah. It's subtle in the sense that, I won't be pushy on the daily.
Right.
Like we have to make, like stuff we shoot is like 6, 7, 8 months it takes to shoot the shows that we do.
Right.
So, okay, guys, we gotta keep this momentum going, and on a more of like a weekly or monthly, but when I show up, I tend to nitpick a bit and be like, what are we doing?
People see
I went for lunch, or what, or
like, hide the barricades, Matt's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put the barricades back up. Matt's
coming.
Yeah. So
that's funny.
Something I've always wondered about with watching series and directors and these type of, and again, I'm a lay guy. I don't know much about this stuff, but I was always curious. When like somebody's on a TV series, for example, there's always a different director that comes in for what, how does that? I mean, I'm assuming you're dealing with a different style every single series. I mean, I don't know, how does that work when it comes to, right? You have to kind of like learn what that director each week is, their style. Is that how something like that works?
I mean, what we've done a lot now is graduated some of the camera guys, cinematographers to directors.
That's a good idea.
Even our sound recordists, because we're small teams, right? And as the years go on, depending on budgets, you got to be kind of frugal or creative with your assets. So our sound recordist, who does our sound mix, also Adam Nogler, he's fantastic. He's now like directed the last few seasons.
Wow.
He's there. The guys do 2-week shifts. They do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Right.
They go home to their families. That's really important to me, because I have a family, and although I don't get to see them as much as my camera crew gets to see their families,
right.
I was always the one on the shows before I had my own company, like on the tow truck show on Highway Through Hell. I think I have the record for most weeks in a row working. I did 13 weeks in a row. So it's like, that's like my Ukrainian, whatever, hockey grinder background. But so for me, it's important for them, as now I have children stuff, to make sure that they get with the fact. So we have some of the camera guys have graduated to directing. So it's a lot of the guys that know the style, and are, it's shorthand to execute, and it's pretty easy. And there's always Mike and Avery there to remind them if they're not doing it right.
Exactly. Yeah, you have them watching over.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's one of always the challenges with shows is when there's a show that has been on and you have different directors coming in. They have to obviously be familiar with the show.
Totally.
But they also have their own style. So,
exactly.
you don't want a director to come in and change it so drastically where it loses the momentum that the show has built.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
One, but I think that's smart with the cinematographers because they've been there. They kind of know the show already.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, that's really cool.
And you know, at times you try and bring in some other directors, you know, and you know, because they're new. It's not because they're not good, because they're new or they're not. You know, it doesn't really work out because, you know.
They
you need that. You need at the bottom line at the end of the day is you have to be able to get along with the characters.
Right.
If that's not there, well, then everything's it's not gonna be fun for anyone.
Yeah, well, I can imagine a brand new director, poor guy coming in or girl coming in and having to face. Who wrote these questions?
Well, that's it, right? Or even just following a scene. We had a scene in season 2 where the guys were dropping off a convertible Camaro at a car show, but it was in a covered trailer on a 2-hour drive, and all the dust and dirt from the ceiling in the trailer fell onto the white upholstery. And Mike was super he was upset about it, and they had to clean it out, and they didn't have a vacuum, and his son went to the pharmacy and they bought like a crappy little vacuum, and the knob was breaking off, and it's great stuff.
Yeah, great content, but
and I was there, but I wasn't directing. I was just kind of supervising. And Mike is a very strong character, and he was like, "No, you can't film this." I'm like, "Mike, this is what we do. We're filming. Like this is really happening. We got to film this stuff.
It's real life."
And he took it out on the direct. When he used common sense with Mike, he can't argue. But there's a new director there who I'm friends with, and he's great. And he tried to diffuse it too. And you don't know what you're talking about. You're just a sycophant. I didn't know what that word was. I was like, oh my God, you're so rude. But
dictionary.
They can lose, they can get upset. And and you have to be able to kind of take the punches and roll with it, right? So thick skin is a big thing. Not just getting along, but
that's right.
Sometimes they're gonna have bad days because you're with them so much.
Right.
You're gonna get them when they're super happy, when they're super upset. Mike's had said some awful things to me, and I've said some awful things to him,
right?
Because we're friends. Also, I've known him for a long time, but that you have to. It's like living with a brother or sister.
Right. I was gonna say it becomes a family, and that's part of the challenge.
Yeah,
but it's also part of the fun too, because now you could say those things, and you're both going to show up to work the next day.
That's right. And we're going to go for dinner or go. Mike loves going to see movies, and we go. And we sit there and we go watch, whatever the latest blockbuster is, and listen to him sing along to the music, and it's super distracting and but it's we laugh because that's Mike, and it's just, but it's fun because it's we get to hang out and kind of just not have the cameras around and just be buddies.
Exactly. Joe, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say, so you've won quite many awards there. So talk about the awards and and how it felt to win those awards.
Yeah, no, we got to crack the USA and crack the Emmy side of it, but and you never know, some other stuff. Hopefully down the road, we got a project that's a feature doc coming up that we're very excited about. But yeah, no, I mean, again, being competitive and coming from kind of like a hockey background, you always want to win, and you always want to do your best, and you want to get those accolades to show that your hard work's paid off. It's a tough industry in Canada, and we're on the West Coast, so we don't Toronto's the hub, so a lot of the voting and stuff kind of comes out of Toronto, so it's kind of hard to break in and get an award because everyone kind of votes for people. They don't really know us that we're pretty far west, right? So, but we're still part of that community. So, I got nominated for directing on Highway Through Hell. Didn't win, but got a taste of it. So wanted to, keep pushing. And then I did a season of Ice Pilots for History Canada, and was lucky enough to be nominated and win the award. Wow. And unfortunately, I was not at the awards because my son was being born.
Okay, that's the best award right there.
And got the news in the hospital, and it was a great feeling to have both a child born into the world and win an award. But it's we want to. For us, we always want to do our best and be the best and be competitive. So we're always kind of, making sure that we're pushing ourselves, pushing each other to deliver the best product possible and the most entertaining and fun. Like we just don't want to follow like Mike and do a process show and show I've done that and we can do that, and that's no problem. But I like the character driven documentaries because it just makes it more fun, right? And we got one shot at this, our time here, and we want to make the best of it. So for us, it's we want to put our best foot forward and push it, push in the right direction, try and win awards. I mean, people say, oh no, that's too competitive. I'm like, well,
I mean, the whole award thing, it's like I know that the award shows and have been getting kind of a bad rap and people kind of put them down, but they're real validations of hard work, and it's actually it's actually great to be able to say, I worked my butt off, and this is what this is actually somebody validating what we've done as a team. I think that's really important. So I know that the award shows sometimes they kind of go into weird areas sometimes, and I think that's what kind of makes it seem whatever. That's controversy behind it. And it's like at the end of the day, it's just like who was nominated, who did who won, who no one is the best, right? Because that's not really a real thing. It's not, you say he's the best actor.
Yes.
Well, it's not the best actor, but for right now, they've chosen his performance as the best right now. And everyone else is, so I think that awards are really great. And I think that we need to kind of go back to like when they were actually, people were saying, that's awesome,
People need to be recognized for what they do. And at first I was like, every year I was like, oh, okay, I need to get a nomination, I need to win. And, once I won, it's like, okay, that's cool. That's great. And we still, submit and we push. But my favorite thing now is because like the one thing that was, as I was coming up before I had my company, was it was hard to get the production companies to submit you because it costs like a few $100 to submit, and it takes time, and you need to have people in the office to do it. My favorite thing is to get everyone into the nominations, from the editors to the camera guys, cinematography, sound, everything. So I spend a bunch of money because I was not treated a certain way, right? And so I want to make sure that, so we have, I didn't get nominated this year. The show didn't get nominated, but the story department got nominated for Rust Valley.
Nice.
And we did this other show called Back Road Truckers. I think we won almost every category at least in the BC awards.
Right.
Which is great, and it makes me really proud to see them win, and it makes me really happy to make sure that they get submitted for that. So that's a big part of our company.
That's awesome.
That's recognized, right? I can do as many sushi Fridays or bring smoked meat from Montreal and brisket or maple syrup from back home, but to see them get nominated is very special to me. Yeah,
that's what a leader does. That's what a good leader does.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
We try.
I wanted to talk to you about a documentary that you had mentioned before we went on the air.
Yes, of course.
I want to talk. I don't want to give away what it's about. I want you to tell us a little bit about it, because I was kind of blown away by I
mean, I love describing it because it kind of like it comes across at first like, oh yeah, it's kind of been done before, but it's a feature documentary, our first foray into like a feature doc. Really always wanted to make a documentary or participate in one. Lucky enough, got hooked up with a new friend of mine who's helped me on some sizzle reels and development stuff. Great director, cinematographer named Pablo Garcia. And we teamed up and we just finished principal photography. We might have some pickups left, some interviews, but basically it's a feature documentary about this 31-year-old Brazilian gentleman who's a surfer. And his quest is to surf the biggest waves on the planet. He wants to surf the biggest wave of his life in Nazaré, Portugal. And everyone's seen 100-foot wave, and the second season's coming out, and that's all cool, and they've kind of done that. But the big thing about this is he's 100% blind. So he's the only fully blind surfer to ever surf Nazare. So it's been a wild ride, and a lot of ups and downs, and he got injured, and it's a combination of a family story, inspirational comeback, theme documentary, and super excited about putting it together. We're going to edit now. Pablo, I'm picking him up in a few hours from LA at the Vancouver airport. He's flying in, and he's going to be here for 10 days. But it's basically about a blind surfer, blind from birth essentially, and surfing big waves in Nazare. It's phenomenal.
That is gonna be so epic. I can't wait to see that. That's awesome.
Incredible.
I mean, I get nervous when I get water in my eye when I'm shopping. I start panicking, that's amazing. That's amazing. So I want to talk a little bit about your company.
Yeah, sure.
This production company, and I mean, the fact that the whole executive producer, directing, and then you're in the editing room, and now you take it on to actually have a company. So
yeah.
So you're either like really ambitious or you're just insane, or a little bit of both.
I think it's a bit of both. Yeah, my wife's that's for sure.
So tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
We started 5 years ago on the heels of Rust Valley getting greenlit, and got another show greenlit a couple years later called Backroad Truckers. That's in its second season on Hulu. And then, off the heels of that, we got a first look deal with Chorus Entertainment that kind of is one of the big 2 or 3 networks, conglomerates for media in Canada. So they have History Channel Canada, HGTV Canada, and Food Network Canada, stuff like that. So they're a big company. Got a first look deal, so they got all my ideas first over the last few years. So that was a big, boost and supercharge our development. So we have a lot of stuff in development, over 20 shows in various stages. A few on the cusp of green lights. This is looking at being our biggest year yet. Just continuing to work with great creatives, and work with people that have like-minded work ethics. And we've also just opened up an office in Calgary where we're doing some production service work. That's where they shoot Last of Us, that new HBO show.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have a service office there with edit suites and equipment, and we do our own sound mix, and we do our own color stuff. So so growing out that way. But for me, it's if I don't fill my day with work, I kind of feel useless. So as you become an executive producer, we're doing development, doing this and that, and it's like, I need to fill more of my day with some other stuff. So we started this satellite office in Calgary and kind of growing out that way. But we're pausing there for now, as we got a lot of work coming in, and there's such a thing as growing too fast. And but no, it's been a wild ride, and it's kind of just the beginning still. So
Yeah, and it's such a blessing to be able to wake up and do something you love. Because is it really work? I mean, yes, it is work. Like there are days, right, where you're kind of like, I'm sure you're like, on the computer answering emails and trying to get budgets and all that stuff in place.
That's exactly it. That's what I did today.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, you're doing something that you're really passionate about, and it is that whole. Is that thing that people don't go after, because it's the difficult. You could have stayed at that office job that you mentioned. It was a good paying job.
Good. It was a great job. It was a great company, great people.
Yeah. And it could, and there is that idea that's safer. In reality, it's not really safer, because you're not really creating what you want to create if you're a creator. Yeah. So at the end, then when you're retiring and you're getting your gold watch, then you're like, God, I didn't really create what I wanted to create, and now it's kind of late. But you take that leap with so many people. Do you have any advice for anyone that's on the fence on trying to start, like not just a production company, but just really looking at their passion to try to make money from their passion?
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, I was going to ask you this before. I'm just curious. Like, you were at that job, and what was the mindset of making the leap into going full-time eventually, and what did you feel? Was there that fear, like, oh my God, so kind of talk about that piece as well.
Extreme fear and anxiety, is that
yeah, exactly.
in between, I ended up like those college painting signs you see around like town and stuff.
Yes.
Working for my buddy as I'm trying to crack the industry. I was like making $15 an hour painting houses because I need to pay the bills. So definitely, you definitely need a strong work ethic. And if you can outwork the next person, that'll get you a leg up. The other thing is, if they ask you if you can shoot and use a camera, say yes and figure it out. That's what I ended up doing on another shoot. I know I said I bungled the Chicago shoot on that one, my first attempt, but on another shoot, they asked if I knew how to shoot. You direct, can you shoot? I'm like, oh yeah. So the next couple of days, I'm dragging. It was just me and a sound guy. I was dragging my 65-year-old sound guy around back when like there was no like wireless. So he's tethered to my camera,
dragging him around,
holding up the box monitor as I'm like shooting like this oil rig, drilling a hole for an hour. It's just drilling a hole. He's like this French guy. I said, Matthew, you're doing an art film on the drilling of a hole. Like, no one shoots this long. You're rolling, like, you got to cut. I'm like, no, I'm shooting everything. He's like, whatever. He's like, you don't understand. Anyways, I ended up shooting a bunch of stuff, and they loved it. But, like, I was calling my cinematographer friends, like, what are these buttons for? What's this color temperature thing? Like, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm shooting and directing a show. Like, what? And anyways, I did it, and they hired me full time. And, the rest is history. But yeah, no, I think it's being able to listen to everyone else that has the experience. I think I said that earlier. It's like listen, and absorb as much as you can when you're in those opportunities and in those situations where you're on set. Don't just focus on your job. Like, do your job, but every other moment that you have is like, what's the sound guy doing? What's the camera guy doing? What's the producer doing when he comes on set? How is he treating people? And it's really just absorbing that, because I was just a sponge. So be a sponge and work harder than everyone else.
That's exactly. And you were drilling that hole. I just kept thinking that's riveting.
I like it.
But I had one where you said just say yes. So I was an actor. I was in front of the camera for a while, and because I'm a short Puerto Rican, there was a shortage of short Puerto Ricans in New York actors. So I cornered the market. And but somebody asked me, they're like, hey John, can you shoot this? I know you do films and stuff. And I was like, yes, I can. I didn't have a camera. So I said yes. You know what I did? I actually went and I borrowed a camera from an accountant that I know. He had a Canon Rebel.
Yeah. All you need.
I got the Canon Rebel. I got a thing, and I went and I shot this thing, and I think I made like $100, but I shot it, and they were really happy with it. But I had no idea how to use it. I went home, and I figured it out. And YouTube. We had YouTube. So this was about maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and I saw YouTube, and I saw a video, and I got the hang of it. But you're right. It's like, if you really want to do it, just say yes, and then figure it out.
Yeah.
Because initially you want to say no.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're going to say yes, then you got to figure it out. Don't say yes and then don't figure it out.
And figure it out quick.
And do it quick. Like as soon as you say yes, that's when you go home. And from that moment until you got to shoot, you're just working. So when you get there, you have some sense of comfort that you're like, okay, at least I know where the on is.
Yes.
This is this is where I can focus. Right. And I got to point it.
That's right. Because everyone knows pretty much how to frame. It's just the rest of it.
The rest of it. Exactly.
You try not to double hit the record button, which I've done many times.
Right.
Oh my God, I didn't get that. Oh God.
Can you cry again?
Yeah, exactly.
Documentaries. I love this. So when so many questions, because my head is filled with like so many directing questions. But as a director, I love directing, and that to me is really, you're right. You have to be in the center of that room at all times, and know what everyone is doing, and especially like background, because sometimes they think they're at a party,
Yes.
And they'll be like, where are they? They're upstairs drinking, eating all the craft services. But making sure you know where they are is also, but yeah, that skill, what is that? Like, can you explain what? Because it's sort of like being aware of everything at one time, and it's such an amazing thing. Like for the first, I think I figured it out maybe like 2 or 3 films in, where I realized, oh, this is what it is, and I read things. It's like just knowing what everyone's role is, knowing where everyone should be, being organized with your paperwork so you know what the next thing is.
Yeah, totally.
And then, but can you talk a little bit about that? We're at 55 minutes, George.
Wow.
Into it.
Wow.
No, I mean, it's for sure an adrenaline rush. That's the one draw. So you will have to deal with the fact that all eyes are on you and you have to get stuff done. I mean, scripted is a bit different than unscripted, of course, because you have a bit more time with unscripted. But especially on a scripted show, which I've done a few of, you better have your shit together. And be able to like troubleshoot and adjust and adapt pretty quickly. But I mean, it does take a certain kind of person.
Don't show fear.
You can't say that. But don't be afraid to ask for. I think I like asking for some input. I mean, I'm not going to ask necessarily the PA's input.
Right.
If they have a good idea and they're just and you've chatted with them, maybe But no, like with your cinematographer,
of course.
I don't mind looking. I think it's just to not be ashamed or shy to like get some input from other people too, because it's like no one's all knowing. Yes, there's directors. I think big Hollywood directors. They're probably pretty protective of their craft and what they're doing, but they're also not sure how it's going to turn out. They can't guarantee it's going to be a $200 million like. So I'm okay with like being a bit more open and vulnerable. I think it also helps relax everyone else. But I mean, when it's time to do the work and we're under the gun, it's like military sergeant time kind of thing, and it's like let's go. And so you got to be able to like give and take, because you got to be soft with people sometimes. There's different personalities, then you got to be on it.
But and when you decide,
don't be a jerk.
Right. Don't be a jerk. Right. And when you decide on something, make sure your decision is strong, so they know that you're willing to make that decision that has to be made. And sometimes it's a tough decision, but you got to make it, and you got to make it quick. But that's it is part of the rush, but at the same time, it can keep you up at night.
Oh yes.
Matt, this has been such a tremendous joy. Like I said before, look at the time is we've almost at an hour now. Before we say goodbye, I want to ask you a question. The last couple of years have been very challenging for a lot of people, and our artists, especially, kind of getting back out. So, do you have any advice, especially as someone that's done so many of the different roles in that industry, if not everyone, all of them actually? Any advice for someone that's coming out, or maybe afraid to come out, or just is that trying to figure out what should they do? Any words of encouragement for them?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I was pretty shy growing up and throughout, kind of out of college. I kind of forced myself to take those acting classes to try and get out of my shell. But don't be shy to take take the first step. Always just take that first step and don't hesitate. Don't hold back. Don't second guess yourself. If you want to do it and give it a shot, it might not be for you, but at least, again, like you said before, it's like you don't want to be wearing your gold watch in 50 years and saying, I should have tried it.
Right, exactly.
Try it.
Yes.
Most people will love it, because it's kind of it's once you get into it,
it's
the
addicting.
people and the camaraderie and seeing everything executed and on screen at the end of the day is pretty darn rewarding. And it's just, don't be shy to take that first step, and because at the end of the day, everyone had to take that first step, and everyone started as a PA and didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Right. Exactly. I love that. Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. This was really great.
Oh, thank you. That was great. We'd love to have you back again. And especially, I'm going to keep an eye on this documentary. I don't know if you have a title yet, but
Currently, it's untitled Blind Surfer Doc. It's been circulated as Breaking Dark, but we'll see where it kind of lands in a little bit.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we'll
Great.
definitely be following you. And let me just
Absolutely.
Is this the correct website?
That's the one.
All right, so
Awesome.
check him out there. Check out all his production. We're very, very excited for all the projects that are coming out. Matt, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank
Have
you,
a
sir.
wonderful night, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
What a great conversation. Yeah.
I know, and this is what we always say about the not just the industry, but how you have to, your mindset.
Right.
Your mindset in the industry has to be a very specific. He has that thing that we always talk about on the show.
Yeah.
That if you don't have that, you ain't gonna make it. You're gonna be asked to leave, because at the end of the day, people, these productions cost a lot of money, and the money has to be regained. Not everything happens. But at least if you have the work, and you have a better chance.
Exactly.
And you have to have the right mindset to do that. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much, Matt, for being on the show. We appreciate it. And George, thank you very much. I usually play a little bit of music out, but I kind of forgot to play it tonight.
John, you went off script again?
Yeah, it's playing. But thank you for joining us this evening. We love
we're having dinner at the Chez Le Fond.
And we'll take the check, please. Want to thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you again next week here on Counterparts, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For George Batista, John Henry Soto, Counterparts. We'll see you all next week. And as always,